For what avail the plow or sail, or land or life, if freedom fail? Ralph Waldo Emerson. Today's video is about embracing liberty with a bang. In the little house where the pixies grow, freedom is celebrated with a great deal of relish. Not just the delicious kind filled with cucumbers, peppers, pickling spices, and altogether too much sugar, but rather the variety that provides the rich soil in which self-determination and resourcefulness thrives. Whether you happen to be leafy, furry, or human is of no matter. The pixies expect a certain amount of festive participation from you. An entire holiday set aside to celebrate a nation's combined commitment to the principle and practice of liberty is, as far as the pixies are concerned, a very worthwhile celebration indeed. It does, however, help that there are brilliant fireworks displays to attend. Normally heavily regulated root beer flows like a drunken bootlegger's stash. There is plenty of barbecue to be nibbled at, wedges of cold watermelon are liberally partaken of, and the laughter and the chatter of friends and family is swirling all around them in a dizzying mix of comfortable familiarity and celebratory excitement. Pixies are a sociable people, and they adore a party, an attribute that is clearly in their DNA. But perhaps the most anticipated aspect of this celebration, and the one that no one tries to excuse themselves from, is the trip to the mysterious and often garishly colored circus tents which have popped up all around us and are filled with a vast array of fireworks for sale. And while the pixies have strictly forbidden me from buying shrimp from a random guy in his Coleman on the side of the road, again, the prospect of entering a nomadic business situated in a canvas tent filled with explosives doesn't faze them in the least. If one sells colorful packages filled with magical wands, crackling and spitting with sparkling fire, how disreputable could one really be? It seems that long before the founding fathers of America conceptualized the use of fireworks in celebration of their defiant declaration of independence from British rule, the Chinese had discovered them completely by accident, or at least that's the story. Rumor has it that sometime in the 2nd century BC, bamboo was tossed into a fire, and when the hollow pockets within the bamboo, filled with air, heated up, they exploded with a startling bang. Due to the obnoxious and frightening nature of the explosion, the ancient people promptly decided that these fireworks would be an excellent deterrent for evil spirits, as well as annoying neighbors coming down uninvited into their villages from the surrounding mountains. Between 600 and 900 AD, legend states that Chinese alchemists created a mixture of powdered potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal, poured it carefully into the handy hollow areas of the bamboo, and lit them up. Because why wouldn't you? This, surprisingly, led to the inadvertent discovery of not the secret to eternal life, as was the goal, but rather the first inception of gunpowder. The Chinese alchemists shrugged their collective shoulders and rolled with it, embracing their new and improved noisemakers as an even more efficient way to drive away bad spirits and crazy neighbors, as well as the perfect addition to celebrating weddings and births with a flair and a bang. A few hundred years on, the Chinese military realized they had been missing out on the potential to make bigger things go boom, and they quickly adopted the crazy black powder and built rockets to hurtle projectiles at their enemies in a most alarming manner, if you happen to be their enemy. When peoples from the West and the Far East began to take their slow boats to China, they were delighted by the firework displays and the gunpowder, and excitedly set to work developing bigger and more refined weapons to use with the volatile new powder, and stocked up on Chinese fireworks to backward engineer and produce for use in royal and religious celebrations, as well as for military victories. Fire masters across Europe put together elaborate shows with their assistants, the Green Men, so called for the covering of leaves they wore to protect themselves from the sparks of fireworks. This turned out not to be a very effective shield, and let's just say you were likely to be turned down for medieval life insurance if you noted down your occupation as a green man. This pesky little matter of bodily harm was not a deterrent to the European royals, who were now actively competing to arrange bigger and better fiery displays, designed and executed, of course, by someone less important and more disposable than themselves. It should come as no surprise at this point in the story that newly minted Americans immediately thought of fireworks when they conceived of their annual celebration of independence. With John Adams, our second president, zealously writing to his wife Abigail on July 3, 1776, concerning the impending signing of the Declaration of Independence, that he was apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival, and it ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows and games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore. John Adams was nothing if not passionate about the cause of liberty, and I suspect would be delighted by the elaborate Technicolor shows of fireworks every 4th of July that stretch from the American West Coast to the eastern shores where it all began. The Pixies will definitely not be lighting their own fireworks or throwing gunpowder-packed bamboo into bonfires this year, as we love our neighbors, and I am firmly opposed to such risky behavior with or without a covering of green leaves. They will, however, most certainly watch the professionals hurtle powder-packed rockets into the night sky to burst into dazzling displays of colorful and fiery blooms in celebration of their country's Independence Day. After all is said and done, the cause of liberty deserves this magnificent tradition. The men who wrote and signed the paper, which was a declaration of intention to be entirely independent of the crown, did so without knowing how things would end, what their futures would be, or what centuries later the land they stood on would look like. But undoubtedly, when they stood beneath a similarly dark sky as us, lit with orange flares of light, they felt a thrill for the adventure before them and all its unimaginable possibilities. Happy 4th of July from those of us in the Little House to you. Thank you for joining us today, and if you haven't already, please consider clicking the subscribe button and liking our video. See you next time.
And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3.